What's up, guys? Cass here from GiveWave Studios, and on this one I'm going to show you guys how I made kind of like a case or like a carrying bag, messenger bag for my spellbook prop that I have here. I have the speed build on my channel, and a lot of people watch that video and have wondered not so much how I made the book, because you can kind of see the steps, but more so how I made the case for it, which I kind of only show at the end. So I don't have a case now to kind of show you guys the final result, but if you've seen the video, I'll leave it linked. You'll know what I'm talking about, and I'm just kind of go through the steps with you guys as I'm making it, because it is very custom. So depending on what book you have, how big you want it to be, what shape you want it to be, you're gonna have to do different types of dimensions. I'm also gonna put up the patterns for free on givewavestudio.com and also on the Facebook page. So if you like the Facebook page, you can access the photos, and I have an album that's called like free patterns or something. So you can get. All right, let's get it. So once I had made my book, first thing I did is grab some piece of paper that I kind of pieced together and did like a big cutout of what this would look like folded, where it would end up, and how it would fold over itself. So that's kind of how I figured out the math of what you see here. This ended up being 12 by 12.75, 12 by 12 3/4, and this was however long I wanted it to be, because it could have ended up here, but I wanted it to just kind of like cross right here, so there wasn't too much of a gap right there. So again, these patterns will be available if you guys want to replicate exactly what it is that I'm working on. So what I'm going to do is use my patterns, but I'm going to fast forward through the process of cutting everything out, and then I'll catch you guys for the next step. Cool. Okay, so with all that out the way, so we need 3 of these. We have our top and our bottom. What we're going to do next is I'm going to show you guys a technique on how to make the foam look like leather. By the way, the foam that I get is called Sillywinks. You can find it at Hobby Lobby. You can find this at Hobby Lobby. You can order it online. You can go to your local store. It's like $1.50 or something like that. A sheet. And this one, I'm just going to show you guys a sample of what it is that I'm going to do, but I'm going to fast forward through the entirety of the process because it is a big sheet. So I'm going to grab a heat gun. I'm going to heat up the foam. I wanted to get it so that it's very squishy on the surface, but not to the point where you burn it. So don't leave it in one area, or else you'll do this. See, you'll burn the foam. You don't want to burn the foam. So just keep moving it around until it gets nice and soft. And you'll notice that it starts curling up a little bit. Maybe not on a large sheet, but on this one, right? So it's really warm, super soft. And what you're gonna do is grab some tin foil, crumple it up, and then you're gonna press down on it. And basically what you're doing is you're putting the impression of the creases of the tin foil into the foam, and you're gonna do that as much or as little as you want, and to kind of try and give it, see if I can focus in on this here, the impression of being like old leather. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do to that huge sheet over there, the entirety of the thing. So I'm gonna fast forward through that process and catch you guys on the next step. Now that we're done with this piece, we got a nice texture to it. I got a little couple burns here, but I actually intentionally put them there while I was doing the process because I thought maybe they might give a cool texture, but I was wrong. So try not to burn your foam. So I'm gonna put this aside for a sec, and we're gonna work on this piece, which is going to be the flap cover. Now this one I'm gonna do a little different, just to give a little bit of contrast to the outside of the pouch. I have this like faux leather upholstery fabric that I have here, and I'm basically going to make the flap this fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some contact cement. You can use barge or wellwood, and if you haven't seen any of my videos or any videos relating to cosplay builds, contact cement is a 2-part adhesive. You put contact cement on the part that you're gluing, put contact cement on the part that you're receiving, let it dry for like a minute, put it down, and then, you know, it will never separate ever. So that's basically what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna go ahead and glue these two pieces to each other, trim the whole thing out, and then catch you guys out for the next step. Notice that I did here, I left about a 1/2 inch excess here. Now what that's gonna do is help just kind of like reinforce and stitch the two pieces together. Since we're only gluing this on a thin line, having this excess is gonna allow me to glue these two pieces together and just be a little bit more sturdy that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue these two pieces together and catch you guys for the next step. Alright, so our two pieces are put together, nice and sturdy, not going to come apart anytime soon. So now we can focus on these pieces. So if you are using my template, these will be exactly the right dimension for this to just go all the way around. So I'm going to do one of these slowly with you guys. So I'm going to start with it from the inside. Glue it right up against the edge, nice and slow. And the cleaner you get your cuts on these curved edges, the cleaner these seams are gonna look. Just FYI. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this around. Okay, you guys can see this. Okay. Alright. All the way. Okay. Now we have one side, and we can do the other. So before we do the other one, I'm gonna go ahead and slide my book in and get a sense of where it is that I'm putting the separator, which is this final piece here. So I'm gonna give it about like a 1/4 of an inch space here, and once I've given it that space, put this down and use my marker to mark where this ends, because I want this to be like back down a little bit. So I'm gonna go from like here to here, just so there's a little bit more structure on the back end. I'm gonna start it a little further back. So I can cut that out. Voila. Once I tuck this in here, I want to also go ahead and trace where this is going to land, so I can follow this line nice and straight all the way across and around. Remember, I had my mark here, so I'm trying to visually just do a straight line on the inside of this thing here, from here to here, because this is super important. If this inner piece gets put on crooked, it could really affect the shape of the pouch. So in hindsight, this is something that you can definitely do before you start gluing this piece. So just put the book down, figure out the length, put a straight line down, so that once you start putting this together, you have a nice straight line on the inside. But I think I'll be good with the one that I just made right now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue with my outer line. And I'm gonna fast forward through the rest of this process. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can tell, what I ended up doing is folding this over and finding exactly where it is that I want this to end and close. And once I found that position, I used the back of my X-Acto blade to just kind of score this. So what I'm going to end up doing is making magnetic latches. So I'm going to put a magnet here, here, and here, like so. And that is how my pouch is going to close. One more thing that you guys can do is right here. So right here, you can make a little bit of an opening. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this one out first as kind of like the master. So basically kind of like an oval opening about quarter inch wide. And what this is going to, whoops, broke it. What this is going to be is a slot for you to kind of put a belt through, or loops for a belt to go through, so that you can wear the satchel. So that's the slot there. I'm gonna go ahead and measure from the edge how far this goes. So this stops right about here. So I know that this is gonna start right about here, and now I can go ahead and transfer that over. This is not something that is in the pattern. This is also something that's very optional. If you want this to be a clutch, by all means, you don't have to put any holes in the back. But this becomes super useful. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that and move on to the next step. Alright, so I just cut some excess of the material that I had, about 1 inch wide, 2 strips, and I put barge on the inside. Now I have a little tab, right? I can slip through there, and then I can run an old belt too that you can grab from like secondhand store or thrift shop or something like that, or maybe make something out of the material that you made the front cover and the same tabs out of. Completely up to you at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this in through here, give myself enough slack here on the inside, and just glue it down. So I'm going to do that on both ends and catch you guys on the next step. Alright, so I got my tabs installed, as you can see. Now it's time to put in my closures, my magnets. You don't have to put magnets if you don't want to. You could use snap buttons, you can use Velcro, however which way you can use like a belt clip system, like a backpack clip type of stuff. So completely up to you at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the magnet route and show you guys how I do that. I have some neodymium magnets here, and I have my trusty Dremel. So I'm gonna grab a sanding bit. It is a bit that is as big as or slightly smaller than the actual diameter of my magnets. That's super important because you don't want the magnet to swim inside of the holes that you're about to make. So basically what I'm going to do is plunge the Dremel head into the foam as deep as possible without puncturing through the other side, because these magnets I believe are 5 millimeters tall, and so is the foam. And then once I put these here and glue them, I'm going to go ahead and fold this over and make an impression onto the foam to know exactly where they align, and then put the holes in here also and glue the corresponding magnets, making sure that the polarities match, because there's nothing worse than putting all your magnets together and then they're repelling each other. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through that step and catch you guys for the next one. All right, so as you guys can tell, my holes are drilled. Right, made sure I didn't puncture all the way through the other side, especially consider that we've already covered this side with our my thing there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm using Gorilla Glue, super glue gel. Go ahead and put my first contestant down. Contestant number 2. test step number 3. Okay. And then this stuff dries in like 15 to 20 seconds, but that's only if you don't apply it like super wet. And in order for the magnets to glue on all sides, I did apply it kind of super wet. So I'm gonna give this some time to dry, but while I wait for this to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing my impressions. These two, press these down while I have them more or less in their position. Press this down. Okay, so I have my bearing. So I basically just kind of made an impression into the foam with the magnets so I can get where the corresponding ones are going to be. All right, so that one closes, latches on nicely, or whatever you want to call it. Cool. All right, so again, still waiting for this to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and put the other holes, and I'll take my time for one of them. Show you guys how it goes. So holding this straight down, go ahead and dig in. You gotta try really, because the Dremel is gonna want to like juke and spin out of control in your hand. You really have to make an effort to try and keep it as steady as possible as you're plunging it into the foam, because the last thing you want is for the Dremel to lose control and to make the hole like way larger than it needs to be. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through those and catch you guys. All right, with all my holes in place, what I like doing on the side that won't be seen, like placing just a little bit of Velcro, not Velcro, I'm sorry, duct tape over the magnet. This is to help prevent the magnet from getting unglued from its socket. All right, and so now what I'm going to do is put my corresponding magnets on, and then put my glue in their space. So as the corresponding magnet is there, I pick it up, I know that this surface connects to that, flip it over, bring it and glue it down. This is kind of like a little bit of a surefire way of making sure that I'm gluing the right part to the underside. Another thing that I do sometimes, I'll mark the magnet. That way, if for some reason like I lose it or it gets like magnetized to something else, I know that the part with the mark is the part that goes face down. That's the part that I don't see when I put it up. So as you can tell, this is repelling, it's not attracting. There it is. So I'm gonna fast forward through that step. Catch you guys on the next one. All right, so in the end, I kind of decided to not go with the duct tape. Nothing's wrong with the duct tape. I almost went with it, but I just wanted this to be a little cleaner. So I made a couple of circles, foam, 2mm foam circles that I'm gonna use instead. So I'm just gonna barge these into place. All right, all the tabs are in place. And satisfying closure. Very nice. So far, so good. I can go ahead and put up my book in here. Even have my phone in here. All right, and I have room for like extra batteries, wallet, cash, convention badge, whatever. All right, so next step. Okay, so if you've made it this far, construction-wise, we're pretty much done. Everything else that I'm about to do at this point is basically decorum. I went on Google, looked up a couple of like Wiccan symbols or I don't know, type in wizard symbol or something like that. And I found these little things. I cut them out of the same foam. After I cut them out, I sprayed it gold. I added some reflective material on the inside. So this is something that I'm gonna end up putting right here. As I mentioned before, I'm gonna have links in the description to these props that I sell in the shop. If you guys wanted to add this to your build as well, these I'm going to put right here, and I'm going to attach them with these leather pieces that I cut out, or you can do the same technique that we did with the foam and make it leather. I'm going to attach these in the front right there. But I will go through with you guys how it is that I'm going to weather this. Now I'm using a leather dye to weather the foam. You don't have to do this if you don't want to or not familiar with it. This stuff stains. It will stick to your fingers for days and your clothes. I should be wearing gloves right now, but I'm not using it very saturated. Like, as you can see, I dunked it in the thing and basically took out most of the dye off of it. So what I'm gonna do is with my paper, just kind of put it in certain areas and rub it in to make it look like certain parts are used more than others. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one more heat pass on my side panels because I hadn't sealed those yet. So get those nice and heated. All right, and this is, yeah, basically going to be my step for the next, I don't know, 20-15 minutes, however long it takes for me to get results that I'm happy with. So I just kind of put it down, spread it around, and just kind of start muddying up and dirtying up the entirety of the satchel. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and do a speed through all of this, and speed through adding all of the details, and then you guys will be able to see the final product. So if you made it up to this point, congratulations. Hope the tutorial was useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. I try to answer them as often as I can. All right, this has been Cass from GiveWave Studios, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.